Hi, it's Lauren. So today I'm going to do the lyric analysis for the fourth song, which is called Bury That Girl. Um, I love that I'm wearing this cardigan for this. It's not very death themed, but it's not really about dying. It's about old versions of ourselves that are dying. Bury that girl beneath my feet. I don't want to remember who I used to be. Basically, old versions of myself that I wish I never was. So let's just go through it. The first line is, what a waste of time. What a wasted life. I feel like I wasted a lot of time and I wasted a lot of my life. One example is living in the future. Just imagining this perfect future and living for that, and then not living in the present, and then just being okay with being unhappy because the future will be perfect. All right, so I was out of storage. I had to delete that. I don't know about you, but things like that interrupt me, that get in the way of the goal that I'm trying to get, like filming this, when this is already so hard for me. It's I'm not feeling well. I have all the mental health stuff, which we'll get into. And then I take all my energy, it takes everything I have to sit down and film this. And then I get a minute in, and then the storage just will have to deal with that. And I'm kind of anxious about doing this. I'm not super comfortable yet doing this. And just anything that gets in the way of a goal is triggering to me. And we'll get back into this. And that's probably from the past of my whole life being so future oriented and goal oriented, and no matter what the cost, I finish this goal, I do this goal. And so when something gets in the way of that goal, it's really frustrating. I mean, classic Capricorn, material success. But yeah, what a waste of, let's try to pick up where we just left off. Yeah, what a waste of time, what a wasted life. So I basically wasted my time and I wasted my life living for the future in a future fantasy that doesn't exist, being a people pleaser, going against who I am and my own values in order to fit in and people please. Big thing is school, and I will continue to talk about the education system and how flawed it is. Because it kind of trains people to be a good worker, not really think for themselves, do what they're told. I mean, people do what they're told by their parents, and they go to school, the teachers tell them what to do. And it doesn't encourage individual thought, and it's not the best way to find out how you can contribute to society. In fact, it pretty much does everything to take away your individuality and freedom and joy and choice, in my very, very strong opinion. Because what you want doesn't matter. You're just told what to do, told what classes to take. If you don't like it, it doesn't matter. Just keep taking it for, till you're 18, your entire childhood. So it doesn't encourage you. And it goes against my values because of that. It's a waste of time. It's a waste of life. It really is. And I did really well in school. I had over a 4.0. Then I got into UCI. I went to an art school. I was the model student. And I was such a people pleaser, in the classroom, always raising my hand, ugh, disgusting. But it was against my values. And we have to go to school, but I ended up going to an art school where I was in school for not only the regular, but sometimes till 7 o'clock at night. So more school, which is the last thing I needed. I should have just done homeschool, got it done a couple hours in the morning as quickly as possible, and then had a life of what learning style I needed. But I didn't. I just did what people told me was right, what people told me should make me happy instead of what made me happy. And every time I just did what I was told. It really went against everything I am, which is about being unique and individual. So there's more, but I just wish the old person lived in kind of a delusional future because they were miserable and was too scared to be themselves. Just did what they were told because they didn't feel like they had a choice. And I hate feeling powerless, but I felt powerless probably like a big part of my life. So I had a choice to do better, but I chose to live a lie. I could have been myself if I had like asked my parents for what I actually wanted to make me happy. Like my parents, like they would have made it happen, but I didn't feel like I deserved to be happy or I was allowed to like ask for the things I wanted or the things that would like improve. I just like did what I was told. So like I really think that my parents generally, if I asked for something, they as a kid, they would try to make it happen, but I didn't feel like I was allowed. So that's kind of like sucky. When I say I had a choice to do better, I mean like living by my values and who I am. And if something doesn't align with my values, not doing them. It's a little bit unfair to judge myself that way when you're a kid and you don't know better, but still, I do feel like there's still no excuse for me just suppressing everything I was to just do what was, quote, right. But I chose to live a lie, and that's just not being authentic with myself. Then it goes, I call it the pre-chorus. I've heard there's no such thing, but the little part 4. But now it's a thing. I'm adding it. So, I am ashamed of that girl. Erase that failure. Erase her. So, just feeling disgusted with myself. Also disgusted that I haven't achieved the material success that I have wanted. The last 2 years, I've been just like in and out of psychiatric wards. The 10 years before that, since I was 15, was approximately 10 years. I'm 29. I've been pretty sick since I was 15 with all the mental health stuff and a lot of stuff, a lot of OCD, a lot of just stuff they don't know. And it's a very painful and unsatisfying existence. I put a lot of effort in, didn't really get much out. And it wasn't that I wasn't willing to work hard or be uncomfortable. It's just something was always in my way. Which is why, when, it's just a stupid storage thing, but why it's so triggering. Like, this is a really hard thing for me to do, and then something gets in my way. Yeah. So it's like, I wish I was never that person. I wish that I had been someone different in the past. I wish I could have been proud of myself. And just that desire to erase the parts of yourselves that you don't like, or the parts of your past that you don't like. And now the chorus. Bury that girl beneath my feet. So it's like burying myself, my old self, the parts of myself that I don't like, or like an old version of myself. I don't want to remember who I used to be. Definitely speaks to like self-loathing, self-hatred, self-criticism of I could have been more successful, I could have been more authentic, I could have helped the world more, I could have stood up for my values more. I could have just been a better person. I don't want to remember who I used to be. Self-disgust. I hated her. I hated me. And this line's about the realization that who I used to be is also me. I hated her. I hated me. It's really just about self-hatred and self-criticism and not loving yourself at every stage of the journey. Not that every stage of the journey is going to be easy to love, for sure. And then I go, she died who I don't want to be. So when you do change in life and you achieve it, sometimes you don't want to remember that old version of yourself because you're ashamed of who you were. But a big message in this song is you're not who you are today without your past, no matter how messy it is. And that past version of herself still deserves love. So it's kind of like, this line is like, she died who I don't want to be. It's like, she died, I'm done. This kind of like, screw that. Yeah. So yeah, I think, yeah, she died who I don't want to be. Okay, cool. Now the second verse. What a wasted mind of mine. This sort of speaks to personality and learning styles. The education system, frankly, I don't think it's a good learning style for anyone, honestly, but definitely not for me. I am a hands-on learner. I'm creative. And even my work style, like I'm the kind of person, like I'll knock a really efficient work chunk out in like a half hour, and then I like can't function the rest of the day. That's pretty much, so being like having this like slow, steady work like all day, that's not how my brain works. Like I can write a song in probably less than an hour, or I can't write at all. Like it's kind of like I'm lit up or I'm not. I don't work like steadily throughout the day. I also don't really like do as well by listening. I have to do it. Even when I watch like tutorials like for skating, I can't watch, what is this? Oh my gosh, my storage is low. Oh my gosh. That really irritated me because I just got a lot of storage out. Oh my gosh. That was like a little like just a little burst of rage right there. So I'm just gonna get back because I literally I deleted this storage and then I deleted other storage and now it's still saying it's low. And I'm just like, let me finish. Anyway, so for example, even like skating, like they'll have a 20-minute tutorial like explaining things, and I'll learn more from watching like a 5-second TikTok than a 20-minute tutorial. Because I watch it get into my body and then try to like recreate the feeling or the vibe. That's how I learn. I learn with like feelings. I don't learn with like watching a lecture in logic. I have to do it. I have to feel it in my body. And so like when I'm not in my learning style, I'm not that quote, I mean, I'm not that quote smart and not that successful because I didn't stand up for my learning style and how I needed to interact with the world. And so I wasted my unique gifts by trying to force a style of living that wasn't natural to me. It's like this saying, like, if you judge a fish by the way it can climb a tree, you know, then it's kind of like, it's not the best use of the fish. Super. I mean, the fish isn't going to be in... You know what I mean? Like, the fish isn't going to be in its element, and they're going to seem like the fish is stupid, but the fish is really athletic when it's in the water. That was very awkward, but let's move on. Okay. All right. I had a purpose, but I chose to compromise. So it's, I think of purpose as, when I think of purpose and how to make the world a better place, I think of it as just authenticity. Like, there's a lot of stuff about, you know, the ascension now and like raising a frequency. It's becoming like more popular. Like you see all these crystal shops and all this, you know, witchcraft and incense and all this stuff. And, you know, frequency, law of attraction. And there's a big thing about like raising the frequency, raising the consciousness level. And there's the whole thing about star seeds. And basically what I've kind of like come to the conclusion is the best way to raise the frequency of the planet is to be in alignment with yourself and to be happy and expressing who you are. You don't have to do big things. You just have to be authentically yourself, and you will naturally create a wave of positivity that will spread through the world. And I didn't do that. I had a purpose. I had a clear, personality, individual, and I put it aside because of fear. I let fear win. And that shame of letting fear win and not being brave enough to be myself, to ask for what I wanted, to get my needs met, to do what I really wanted to do in life. And now I'm doing that now with this. But that self-critical nature still is with me. Like, I'm doing this and I'm living my purpose, but I still feel like it's not enough. I still just go to self-criticism because self-criticism is so automatic for me now. Which is the problem. When you live in a certain emotion, most of the time, even when your outside circumstances change, you'll still feel that emotion because it's physiologically the body is used to feeling that emotion. So you have to retrain the brain, which is a whole thing. So I had a purpose, but I chose to compromise. And in compromising myself, I compromised my mission on earth of, I know phrasing it's such a buzzword. I'm like, I have to raise the frequency. I'm like an angel. It's kind of like a little bit sickening, change. I don't want to have that attitude of I'm superior. I'm right from source. I'm from a higher density. Look at me. I'm going to fix the world. But at the same time, I do feel like me, just by sharing who I am and being myself, I do feel like I wanted to come here to make, a positive wave on the planet. And it's kind of like I came here to help, but I got here, forgot that, and then sinking with the ship and making the suffering worse. I just want to reduce suffering and help people feel free. Because suffering is just unrelenting, meaningless suffering. There's so much in the world. And instead of helping that, I contributed to it. So in my mind, anyone, there's a lot of suffering that's on my hands because I didn't live up to my potential. And that's being hard on myself because I was suffering. And then, honestly, by being empathetic myself, I can be empathetic to other people, someone struggling with anything. It's oh, I'm struggling with my weight. Oh, you're just lazy. A procrastination. Oh, you're just lazy. It's such a classic thing in our culture. But if you look at things like addiction and procrastination and all this stuff, there are emotional reasons behind it. And it's unfair to expect that kind of behavior to fix itself if you don't fix the underlying emotional cause. And it's a whole nother thing. But that's one thing in society that's suffering. People have a behavior that's caused by an emotional issue. And then the emotional issue isn't resolved, and they try to change the behavior, and they can keep it up for a little while and fail. Whether it's a diet, a lifestyle change, spending money, whatever the habit is, if you don't resolve the underlying emotional issue, it will keep coming up. That's not a character flaw. That's kind of cause and effect. It's kind of basic physics. If you throw something up, it will come down. If you throw a ball up in the air and catch it, and you get mad every time it falls to the ground, oh, I'm not throwing it hard enough up in the sky, that's super unfair. And that's also super unfair with a lot of things, the diet industry especially. They create these diets that work temporarily, but over the long term do damage your metabolism and make your body more likely to store fat, and then blame the character on the person so that they continue to buy the next product. Very annoying. All right. So I had a purpose, but I chose to compromise. And then I am ashamed of that girl, but I'm not me without her. So who you are today is because of who you've been. So you can't be who you are today without who you've been. So you got to honor those past versions of yourself. Even if they're not your favorite, because they brought you to who you are today, and they will always be a part of who you are. That's what differentiates one person from another, is their memories, their experience, who they've been. And then chorus again, it's the same chorus, but I changed a couple of the words, which I will do often. As the song progresses, I'll change a couple of the words so that it shows the kind of the lesson learned. And so it goes, bury that girl beneath my feet. I don't want to remember who I used to be. So that's the same, that not wanting to remembering your past self. And then I hated her. And this is the different part. I hated her. How could that be? She sacrificed herself for me. So if I'm thinking of people, if we think of our past self as a different person, and that past person essentially sacrificed themselves, died, so that we could exist. And if you think of it that way, that they went through all this pain and suffering, all this darkness, all this confusion, so you could stand here today. How could you hate that person who went through all of that for you? And then at the end, when you forgive that girl, you can love the worst version of her. So no matter what your past self did, they sacrificed themselves for you. And you got to forgive them, because a lot of times they didn't know any better, or even if they knew better, they didn't know how to deal with their emotions in a different way. Storage again. I swear, that's driving me crazy. I was almost done too. Okay, let's finish up. Okay. All right. When you forgive that girl, you can love the worst version of her. So, key points. 1, your past version of yourself essentially sacrificed or died for you so you could be who you are today. 2nd, either they didn't know any better, innocent, the Fool. I think of the Fool in the tarot deck. Or they had emotional needs they weren't fully aware of and just didn't know another way to deal with them. So lack of awareness, and they were doing the best they could at the time with what they had, what you had. And this is assuming that you didn't like who you were and you like who you are now. This also applies to the reversed. If you are idealizing a past version of yourself and aren't liking who you've become, they're both you, so you get to choose which one you want to be. And yeah, so whatever message works for you. Thanks so much for listening. Through all my chaotic kind of malfunctions, this is just real. Me trying to build my life from the ground up. So, hope you enjoyed. Thanks. Bye.